Hello, this is Angela with Parkrose Permaculture. I am hanging out today in my Portland, Oregon food forest in Zone 8B. I'm sitting in the raspberry patch, well, one of 3 raspberry patches that I have, and I'm here because it is shady and cool. I want to talk today about a subject that may seem a little tangential or maybe even a little unusual for this channel. I usually talk about resilient living and abundant gardening and permaculture and chicken keeping and duck keeping and beekeeping. But today I want to talk about something because I got a question about it. Someone asked me, can you have any kind of a social life and do permaculture? And I thought this is a great opportunity to talk about how permaculture fits into my life and how I, as an introvert, handle the process of gardening and small holding, if you will, and what it means for me as an introvert and what it means to be introverted. So what does it mean to be an introvert? My understanding is that being an introvert means I recharge my batteries by being alone. I love my friends, I love my social interactions, but I find that they drain me. And I get to a point where I am emotionally and mentally and even physically exhausted if it's go, 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 go people time. So for about 7 years before the pandemic hit, I was a roller derby official, and I spent an obscene amount of time doing volunteer officiating. And the last 4 years or so, I was in leadership. I was running the officiating program for our league, the largest roller derby league in the world. And I was head referee a lot, head non-skating official. I was frequently tournament head or crew head referee. And those kinds of leadership responsibilities meant I was managing large groups of people. I was managing crews of officials with strong personalities, and officiating relies on really nuanced and frequent communication. I was dealing with coaches and skaters who are in a highly emotional state. I was dealing with logistics. It was just non-stop people. And I was very good at it. But the problem is that it was exhausting. It was draining all the time. It felt really performative. I had to pretend to be an extrovert when I am not one. I had to pretend to be a people person when I was not one. I did what was required of the role, and a lot of derby officiating I found extremely fulfilling, and I love the connections and relationships I made there. But what I found over time was I was more and more drained because I am an introvert and I don't recharge by having intense nonstop interaction with people several times a week and very little chance to recover from it. Now, I have 6 people in my family, myself, my partner, and my 4 children, ages 10 through 18. So in my normal daily life, and I take care of my dad full time. In my normal daily life, I have people interacting with me all the time. I have lots of people in my small house. I have lots of needs. And honestly, when you have 3 teenagers and there's just constant communication, right? So I may be an introvert, but I rarely get alone time. This is where my garden comes into play. What I found toward the end of officiating in Derby was that I was just drained all the time, and I was longing for the hours I used to spend in the garden alone. Now, I still got all of my gardening in. It just was more work. What is my checklist of tasks? Because I need to hurry up and get to scrimmage, or I need to get to a tournament. And so I found that what I was doing in the garden was less rewarding because it was very task-oriented and very rushed. And so it also wasn't replenishing me. And I found that I was yearning for the time before Derby when I had very small children and I gardened with a child on my back all the time. And I was able to see the garden as a place of respite, a place of recharging, a place of peace. And so what I found was that the pandemic brought my hobby to a halt. It effectively removed my hobby from me. And it helped me reconnect with the fact that permaculture can be more than just growing food and getting chores done, that I was able to return to who I was as a person and reconnect with the fact that I'm an introvert, and I love people. I love the friendships that I have. I love my children, but I need alone time. I need quiet and peace to restore me. So when this person asked recently, like, can you have any kind of a social life and do permaculture? I find it's very, very easy to be very social and do permaculture. Permaculture is about earth care, people care, and fair share. The last two of those are intensely people-oriented. Building strong community, building interconnected systems of the way people relate to each other and run society can run the gamut from having book groups in your backyard to gardening workshops, to taking a PDC, to connecting with other gardeners for plant swaps and seed swaps, and having shared bread ovens for the community. We can't do permaculture without connecting to other people. So don't worry, if you're an extrovert, there is a place for you in permaculture. Don't worry, we need each other very much. And I love those social interactions. Before the pandemic, I taught workshops here on a regular basis on beekeeping, duck keeping, chicken keeping, orcharding, urban gardening, and that was very rewarding for me. I found that I needed about 2 days to recover after having 25 or 30 people in my yard. It was very, very draining, but in the midst of it, I knew that it was important, and I found it rewarding at the same time. But I very much was grateful for Monday morning alone in my garden, hanging out with my chickens and ducks or picking berries afterward, because it was exhausting to manage a large group of people. As I've said, please don't feel that if you are an extrovert that permaculture can't meet your needs and you don't have a place in permaculture. You absolutely do. The way your brain works and your skills and your mindset are critical to forming sustainable communities of people. And for the people who are introverted and who like lots of alone time or recharge by being by yourself, there's still a place for you to have connection and social outlets through permaculture. So for me, one thing that has come out of the pandemic life is that it really ground to a halt my hobby, and it forced me to take a look at myself, examine who I am as a person. And the way I've described it to a few friends is that having my social life taken away from me helped me reconnect with who I am as a person and realize that I spent many, many years drowning in trying to pretend to be an extrovert, that I was suffocating under the weight of social obligations and social pressure, and I felt drained all the time. And having that taken away from me, I don't think I would have consciously chosen it on my own. I just would have continued to run downhill until a certain point. Having that disturbance come into my life of removing my hobby from me really helped give me time to evaluate who I am and reconnect with my true self. And my true self is an introvert. So in permaculture, I find that being in the garden every day, even if it's working with my kids, that still feels really restful to me, but I also enjoy working alone in the garden. That is a chance for me to recharge. I don't have to sit and be quiet and be alone. I like to be busy. I love to be productive. I have a hard time resting. But as long as I'm by myself, enjoying the outdoors, whether it be the sunshine or the rain, feeling like I am doing something productive and creative, but having it be quiet and alone is really, really healing for me. I feel like a lot of the time I have spent in the pandemic has been a chance to heal from years and years and years of pretending to be an extrovert. So in permaculture, in any kind of gardening, that chance to connect with the green living things in your garden and encourage wildlife to move in, interact with livestock if you have it, can be such a nurturing place for an introvert. I find that sometimes making YouTube videos is really difficult. Even that feels social for me. So I appreciate folks who, for a long time, I didn't appear on camera. I don't like to be on camera. It just feels really stressful to have to try and look a certain way or appeal to a certain audience when I just want to be who I am. And I find that being alone in the garden is a great chance to just be who I am and not have to be performative for anybody. So as much as I really love sharing about permaculture, I'm passionate about teaching sustainable, resilient living. It is something that I do find draining. And after I make a video, I often spend quite a bit of time either outside in the garden, or I go in and I work on sewing or cooking or something else quiet by myself to kind of bolster myself again, because I do find, even though I am not having a direct social interaction with you all right now, making videos is something that is social. It is about human connection. And then the process of reading comments and replying to them, and filtering out all of the mean things people say is something that also is really draining. But I do want to say that there are ways that being an introvert, having the social interaction of comments on my videos can still be bolstering and recharging. It's like exchanging letters with somebody, right? Which it's a way of interacting socially, which may not be draining. All of the kind, thoughtful things, encouraging things people say in the comments section, I feel is a social way of interacting on an introvert's terms. And it just really, it's really, really nourishing. It means so much to me. So even though that's a social interaction, I feel that it's one that is sustainable for an introvert. And thank you so much for the kind things that you all say. It really, really means a lot. And it's really nourishing in the same way that like the plants feed me, kind, thoughtful comments that I can read on my own time and know that I can take a moment and think about them before I can respond in my own time. That's just such a great outlet for me as an introvert, wanting to interact with people, but finding it draining at the same time. So to answer the question that I got, can I have a social life and do permaculture? Yes, you absolutely can. If you love to garden, if you love to keep ducks and chickens, but you're an extrovert and you have a high need for social interaction and you get your batteries recharged by connecting with other people, consider some of the permaculture Facebook groups. There's really good, thoughtful discussions there. Consider some of the permaculture meetups. Consider hosting one in your garden. Before the pandemic, the Portland Permaculture Guild and some other local permaculture groups would have work parties, and I would volunteer at those. That's actually a great way for an introvert or an extrovert to get community time, because I could focus on the helping somebody pruning or planting beds and be relatively alone for a while and then join them for the meal at the end of the work party. And so I got some social interaction. I got to contribute to the community and live out the permaculture ethic of fair share, where I'm sharing my extra time and my extra skills. And also people care, where I'm helping someone care for their yard, helping them get their needs met. But also not too intensely social. I could work by myself and then get a little bit of social time at the end in the form of a community meal. So if you're looking to do permaculture and you're introverted, absolutely you can do it and get tons and tons of alone time where you're connecting with your plants and you're spending time outdoors in nature. Absolutely, yes. If you're an extrovert, you also can find time and ways to connect with people as well as your garden. Don't feel that permaculture has to be isolating. It shouldn't be isolating. When we talk about site-specific design in permaculture, I think it's also important to remember that we have person-specific design. Permaculture is not a set of hard and fast rules. It is not a rigid system. You could design a permaculture life that fits your personality, that fits your needs. For me, that means a fair amount of time in the solace and the solitude of my garden. It also means doing YouTube videos. It also hopefully means soon doing on-site workshops again. It means connecting on social media forums. It means chatting with my neighbor across the fence and sharing plants with him. It means having my kids work with me in the garden. So there are ways to be an introvert and get your needs met. Oh, hello, Bumblebee. So there are ways to get your needs met. As an introvert, absolutely, permaculture can meet those needs for you. But if you are a social, extroverted person, there is room for you in permaculture as well. Permaculture meets my needs. It meets my need for recharging, it meets my social needs. And if you're an extrovert, there's a way for permaculture to meet your needs too. You can design a life that fits who you are as a person and is still regenerative at the same time. We can't do permaculture if it's not sustainable. So having permaculture that fits into our personality and recharges us either through solitude with our plants or community interaction and supporting our neighbors and our local larger systems of permaculture and building resilient ways of living that are connected with other people, we can have sustainable permaculture for everybody, whether you're introverted or extroverted. For me as an introvert, I just find this lifestyle is super fulfilling and super nourishing. And while I don't regret the ways that I have tried to be somebody else, tried to be somebody who is more extroverted than I naturally am, and those experiences helped shape me as a person, I'm really grateful for being able to return to who I am and find a way of life that really supports my needs. So for me, that is the permaculture lifestyle that I'm living now, the small holding, taking care of my ducks and chickens, producing my own food, caring for my bees, but at the same time, building connections either through YouTube or through my local community, and also forming deep, emotionally connected relationships with my family members, with my children. Having an opportunity to recharge in the garden helps me be a better parent and a better friend and a better community member. So I hope that answers your question about whether you can have a social life and do permaculture, and what it means to be an introvert, what it means for me to be an introvert who is trying to have a YouTube channel and trying to teach permaculture to other people. So thank you for watching. If you got something out of this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. That helps support my family and helps me make more videos. I also have a Patreon you can check out in the description. Thanks.